Andrew Young, always beautiful. Your hair is always poofed up. I've seen him once or twice without poofed hair, and it was uncomfortable.
I don't think you have.
Yeah.
No. I was hoping that we were going to rise from the stage after that.
Be nice.
Can we do that next time? Can we rise?
So. Yeah, we'll ride the mighty Wurlitzer
there we go.
right
That's
there.
up there.
That'll
Okay.
be great. Andrew, I want to give the crowd here an idea of how you got to be here. Because we're going to talk about Abovo, we're going to talk about marketing, we're going to talk about ways in which to be remarkable and to stand out. But it wasn't always that way for you. So walk us through it.
So my climb to the summit, That's in a way. So I grew up in North Dakota. I grew up in a small town.
Napoleon,
yeah, a little town of 800.
And you were your family in a town of 800. Your dad is Asian.
Yep.
Your mom is Caucasian.
Yep.
You were the only Asian family in town.
We were the only Asian family in town, and I was a magician as well. I wasn't in sports.
A magician.
Yeah, I was an Asian magician in a town of 800, and so
it's a classic story, everyone. We hear it all the time. Small town Asian magician makes it big.
Right. And so my parents own and operate Napoleon Drug, the pharmacy in Napoleon, and so in my small town, most of the industry. And most of my friends' parents, worked in agriculture, worked in farming, so I was from a very, very young age. I was raised, by entrepreneurs, and I was always taught that, or showed really that, being an entrepreneur is easy, and this is the path you do to take that.
Because if you open up a restaurant in Napoleon, you're the only restaurant.
The only restaurant.
Right?
Yep.
Pretty easy to shine.
Pretty easy to
in
shine.
A small town.
Yeah, we're the only pharmacy in Logan County even.
Oh,
so sometimes you can even open a restaurant and be the only restaurant in the county.
County-wide.
County-wide. And so, for example, when I was in high school, I started my first business. I was 14 years old, and I actually performed magic. I started doing my birthday parties, but that progressed into the Christmas party for the local restaurant, and that progressed into the Senior Citizen Center, and that progressed into universities across North Dakota, Montana, South Dakota, corporate parties, that sort of thing. And so by the time I graduated, I thought, I'm going to be a magician for the rest of my life. This is going to be awesome. And then I decided not to do that. Being a magician wasn't cool in college.
But it was in high school?
But I guess maybe it was never cool. I don't know. I always think it was pretty cool.
But you had something that was you were remarkable because you found something and you didn't just do it a little bit. I think a lot of us dip our toe in, and instead you were a magician across states, and you were a high school kid traveling and touring at these colleges doing magic shows.
Mm-hmm, right.
How do you go from being a small town, I don't necessarily believe in not that you didn't have big dreams, but there are limitations from our backgrounds that sometimes don't afford us those opportunities to dream big. Mm-hmm. How did you start dreaming big?
I think I started dreaming big by finding what shouldn't be part of my dream, or what didn't fit in my dream. And I think a lot of times, while you're experiencing things, you may think they are. For example, I thought I was going to be a magician forever. And then I saw that there was an organization on NDSU's campus that had video cameras in their hands. And I immediately realized that, being a magician, it's really cool, but it's not part of my long-term dream like I thought it was. And so I hung up the cape, and I got involved in video and video production.
I hung up the cape.
Yeah, literally, I had a cape. I still have it somewhere. But that's what you do. When you learn and when you reflect and when you realize that what you're doing is really cool, or maybe not really cool, maybe it's just something that you failed in. Move on from it. And that was important to me, and that was important into figuring out where it was today. And what's interesting is that I know, at Hatch Coaching, you talk about this a lot, and Hatch Realty is, figuring out your why. I've had a lot of different, experiences and jobs and experience situations that have brought me to where I am today. But now, as I reflect on my why, it still fits, being a magician. It still fits, working in news and video production, but it was those sort of failures, if you want to say, or experiences that helped me learn that it wasn't my dream that got me to where I am today.
if you think about it, and you've explained this parallel to me probably with more articulation than I can, but as a magician, you were introducing people to something that they weren't expecting.
Yeah.
And in marketing, you've gone and done the same thing.
Yeah.
It's been the unexpected that has been remarkable.
Yeah, so I used to stand on stages just like this, and at the time, when I was 14, maybe 16, 17, 18 years old, I thought it was the act of, performing, and that was so motivating and so thrilling. And it wasn't until recently that, I realized and reflected that what I enjoyed most about, being a magician was standing on a stage just like this, and as I would unveil, this magic trick, I was literally seeing faces that were experiencing something they didn't know could be real. They didn't know that could happen. They didn't believe it. And that to me was amazing and powerful. The faces of, man, he just showed me something I didn't think could be real, could exist. And so for us, at Abovo and the marketing that we do, we try to do the same thing. We try to listen to the challenges and the hurdles that people have in telling their story or brand, and we try to show them things that they couldn't think of, that they couldn't have found realness out of. And so we're doing the same thing as I was doing.
Just not wearing a cape anymore.
Not wearing a cape anymore. Maybe we should bring back out the cape. I don't know.
So Andrew, it's important to note that you've leaned into the exceptional and have sought out opportunities that weren't necessarily afforded to you because you just showed up, but rather you had earned the right. And so let me try to get your bio down as best I can. You helped to start the NDSU TV station while on campus.
Yeah.
You then went and interned with Diane Sawyer in ABC News in New York and did that for a semester. You then got recruited to help produce the Academy of Country Music Awards. From there, you went to Shields, and at Shields, you had the opportunity to enhance their marketing department. You did a number of commercials for Shields with you as the director.
Yeah.
So some of those commercials that you'll see, the paddleboard commercial, that was yours, right?
Yeah.
And a few other things. From there, like every millennial should do, they take a year off, and so.
Gap year, right? Gap year.
Yeah. You then were trying to figure out what your next call was. You went to New Zealand, where your husband is from, and you spent a year abroad. While in New Zealand, you were doing some freelance work, and then you helped to develop TEDx Auckland in New Zealand. You've hosted TEDx events before. You came back, and you and I had a friendship. I sold you a condo when you were in college. Your family purchased a condo, which was great, and we developed a great friendship, and from there, business relationships. And so I hired you on as our marketing director, first as a consultant, and then as our marketing director for Hatch Realty. And you took us from here to there. And like we were doing a lot of great things, but instead of me saying, go and do this, and then you would just take the marching orders, you were saying, Erik, we should do this. And it brought this new level. From there, you developed, you were going to be short-lived at Hatch Realty if we didn't shift. And so you and I together opened up Abovo about 2.5 years ago now, just over 2 years.
Yeah, just over 2 years.
Yep, and we basically said, Andrew, you need to go and soar and fly, and Hatch Realty is still going to lean on you for marketing help and support. And now you've grown Abovo, and tell us what Abovo looks like today.
Yeah, so we're to highlight it and to explain it easily. We're a marketing agency that's just small. We're a small and flexible marketing agency is how I explain it. There's a lot of things that we do, and we're excited, and we enjoy the challenge of the ability to do a lot of different things.
You've been astute in the marketing game of helping people to enhance their brands. I'm hoping we can take just a few moments, and I'm going to shut up, and I want you to try to tickle the ears of our crowd here. Give us some advice and some insight as to what we could be doing, whether we're the CEOs or the new kid in the door, on how we can grow our own personal brand and our professional brand.
So how can we stand out, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. How can we be remarkable?
So this is something, it's interesting, and I have one tip for it, and I think if everybody can accomplish this one tip, and fill it in with their own strategies, they'll be ultimately successful at telling their story, sticking out. It's just that it's hard to do. Really, it all boils down to being authentic and genuine.
Okay.
Being authentic and genuine. So in today's age, the digital era, the 21st century, the client, they are very, very intelligent. We'll use a couch, for example, for today. Let's just say we want to buy a couch. We immediately go online to look for said couch, and there are 17,000 options, sometimes from one different store, right? We can read about that couch, we can order samples of the fabric, we can do all these different things that allow us to make a decision, and we are really able to educate ourselves. Now, when we're choosing that product, we are aligning with, sometimes we're aligning with the values of that company, we're aligning with the mission, or we like companies that have a website that looks great. And so when we get that product, if it's not what it said it was, we're immediately unhappy because we know that somewhere out there is a couch, a product that fits our needs exactly. And why did this arrive this way when it said it was going to be this way?
So you're saying that if the couch is inauthentic to what we believed its marketing and branding told us, we're sour.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right, Erik. There's this interesting shift that's happening that, even 20 years ago when my parents were looking at a couch, for example, you went to one store, you were sold a couch by a salesman, and you really didn't return it if you were super unhappy because you didn't really have a lot of options. So in other words, that store could, essentially kind of get away, with overselling this product, right? Now you cannot get away with overselling a product. You can't do it. You absolutely can't. And so it's such a gift now for us to be able to be truly authentic, genuine, and show people the values that we have, the morals that we have, the products that we have, and to be honest about them, and to let people align with us. When we let people align with us in a way that we know is genuine, authentic, they're going to be a happy consumer. They're going to be a happy client. If we let somebody align with us who we aren't communicating with, openly and honestly, they're going to be an unhappy client and consumer, which takes more time, which takes more effort. And so for us at Abovo, and for anybody who, whether it's a personal brand or an organization, every conversation we have comes down to, okay, there's all these different platforms that we can talk about. Now, let's wait to talk about those. We can talk about Facebook, website, billboard, radio, video later. What is genuine and authentic about you, and what strategies or what platforms, whether it is Facebook, video, etc., can fit within what's genuine and authentic to you. That's where it starts.
That's really helpful, Andrew. I think about reviews, and reviews are everything, right? If you go to Amazon right now and you choose to purchase something on Amazon, you're doing so not based on the quality of the product. You're doing so based on what a bunch of strangers said about the product. Right. It's interesting, right?
Right.
This reputation takes forever to build and but a moment to fall apart because we purchased some fridges for a project that we had. We purchased some fridges and online they were the least expensive with the highest reviews. You try to find that sweet spot, right, where you're not overpaying, and yet you want to make sure that there are at least 3 or 4 or 5 stars on it. And sure enough, we had purchased 4 mini fridges for a bar that we had, and 2 of them within 6 months were just shot. They tasted, anything coming out of that fridge tasted like burnt rubber. It was just the worst. And so we looked at the reviews online, and there are, sure enough, a couple people saying, hey, this is ruining some stuff that's in here. And it's so interesting because we talk about this branding stuff and to be authentic to who you are. Tell me your thoughts, Andrew, if a branding or an authentic piece, and I'm not talking about a fridge, I'm talking about a person. If we brand ourselves as maybe a little bit broken instead of being perfect. Because I think that our products that we look for, we want to be perfect. But what about the person?
I think it's such a gift to communicate, our flaws, for both a product, and a person. before I go into the individual, I'll use another. I was recently ordering an outfit, a costume for a party, and I went, I was on Amazon, and I found the shirt that I was looking for, and it said, this is the shirt you're only going to wear once, but you're paying that price. So and I thought, man, that's really cool that they just on their homepage they said, hey, this is a pretty shitty shirt. But it's $5, so what more are you expecting? And of course, I paid $5 for it, absolutely. Yeah. And you align that next to the fridge, and you think, man, would it have been different for us if on that homepage of the fridge's site or the product page, whatever, it had said, hey, this is a pretty good fridge, but for the price you're paying, we aren't able to make it the as high quality as this model that we have. But it's this price. Would we still have bought? We probably would have.
Yeah, I'm pretty cheap.
Yeah. And then, when our stuff was tasting like rubber, we reached out and we were kind of mad at the company. Like, hey, what the heck? We were deceived. We were deceived. Yep. And if we would have, bought the fridge like we did, and we would experience, that rubber taste, but we go back to the product page and we read, hey, this isn't the best fridge, but you're negotiating your value here. We wouldn't have reached out. We would have just dealt with it. We would have known what we were getting. Yeah. And I think that's the same with individuals and our personal brands as well. I think there's a famous saying of everybody is going through their own battles, that sort of thing. What's really interesting to me is I've become transparent with some of the battles that I'm going through. I found a lot of people who are going through the same battles as me, and it not only gives
it creates alignment more than it does detraction, right?
It does. It definitely creates alignment. It creates community, and I think that in my mind, battles or struggles or challenges and hurdles, whatever an individual is seeking at that time in their life, becomes their morals and their values. And so I think it's something that's really neat to use as something that can align you with people who are going through the same thing, to learn from, to help each other, or just create that relationship.
Yeah. Andrew, I want to pause. I want to give you a chance because I know you've worked hard to prepare for this, and you have a few, hopefully, nuggets or takeaways that people can walk with. So I want to yield my time to you.
Yeah, you had sent me a few questions that you wanted me to reflect on. Thank you. I think they're really great questions to reflect on. One of them is that Erik sent me. I'm just going to read it verbatim. He says, "How do you build a brand?" And I thought, man, that's a good question. It seems very, very simple. It's a couple words long, but there's so much behind it. And something that we always tell people at Abovo is, a brand is built. It's not built by cool logos. It's not built by cool images. It's not built by a great website. Those might be layers and products within a brand. But a brand is built by storytelling. And I think a lot of people get caught up when they're starting a brand, or as they're going to these types of conferences and conventions and workshops, and reading things online. People get obsessed in existing on Facebook, having a great website, and having great videos. Those are the three products that people come to Abovo most for: is website, Facebook, and videos. And we always ask them, okay, why? Why do you want to be on there? Well, because everybody's there. Okay, well, fair enough. There are some platforms within marketing that are foundational. I agree with that. But again, why? Why do you want to be in there if everybody's there? Well, because we have to tell our story. Well, okay, you're exactly right. You have to tell your story. Branding and building a brand is done through storytelling. But what we always want people to know is that there are so many different ways to tell a story. I was talking to Rachel Black right before I came in. Rachel Johnson.
Yeah, she got married.
I still have my high school classmates in my phone as their maiden names.
That's great.
I'll never give them up. Rachel Johnson. She got married. I was talking
to...
Hey,
Connor, good to have you here.
Connor.
Yeah, her husband's here, too.
She's still Rachel Black on my phone, Connor. I'm sorry, I'll never change it. So I was talking to her on the way in, and she was talking about Facebook, and how Facebook to her, just isn't authentic and genuine. But she loves, writing people handwritten notes. That's her thing. And I said, Rachel, and we kind of said this together, you don't have to post on Facebook. That's not your way of telling your story and telling your brand in an authentic way. If authentic and genuine to you is to write handwritten notes, then what you need to do is you need to stop spending effort on Facebook, start putting effort into doing that strategically and predictably. And once you have that down, and once you've created a system out of this handwritten note and using that tool to tell your story and tell your brand, then layer in Facebook. Start with what you know, start with what is genuine and authentic to you, and commit to it. Dial in, create a plan, create a system, get it down, and then add a layer. And that's where we come in, is we help people strategize in what those layers can be. And we really want people to think creatively. I'll use one client, for example, Wimmers, which is a jeweler in town. They came to us and they wanted social media and website and all this sort of thing. And after talking with them a little bit and finding out some of the things that were authentic and genuine to them, one thing that we figured out was one thing that they do when a gentleman or a lady comes in to pick up the engagement ring that they're going to use to propose, is they were taking a picture of them, just to have sort of a momentum for the company. Just they were always kind of in sweats, or they weren't always dressed up, but it was sort of just a way to archive a really special moment. How you feel too when you go to pick up a ring that you're going to use, to propose. And so one thing that we did was we thought, man, that's great. Let's mail those. Let's print those pictures off and mail them to the fiancés after they're engaged.
That tells a story, doesn't it?
That tells a story. We have it. Let's print it off and mail it to them. If we print it off and mail it to them, it's going to be the only copy they have of that picture. We'll put our little logo on the back. It won't be on the front. It won't be front forward. And we'll put in sales tactic, we'll put a little coupon in there that says, hey, come get your matching band, and here's $100 off, whatever it is. Right. But think about ways, and sometimes you're already doing something really cool. Like Wimmers was already doing that, and that's so cool. How can you use the things that you're doing and the things that are already authentic and genuine to you to tell your story?
Beautiful stuff. Do me a favor, give Andrew Young a big round of applause. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Erik.